Nobody told you it was going to feel like this. Nobody said that doing the right thing every single day was going to make you feel like you were slowly going crazy. You thought it would be hard. You had no idea it would be this miserable. That right there is why most people walk away before they ever get anywhere. Stop running from the misery. That is the whole thing. You want what it gives you, but you cannot stand what it asks from you. You want the body, but you hate what the diet does to you. You want the money, but 4 a.m. kills you every morning. You want people to respect you, but making the sacrifices that earn that respect, that part you keep skipping. So you stay put, broke and soft and right where you were last year. Because the misery is not something sitting next to the path. It is the path. And until you get that through your head, you are going nowhere. Most people run from hard their whole life. Every single choice they make is about what hurts less right now. They pick the job that does not push them. They stay in the same city because leaving scares them. They dodge the conversations that would expose something true about where they are. They are on their phones at 2 a.m. because that is easier than lying in the dark with nothing between them and the truth of who they have become. 10 years of that, 20 years of that, and then they look around confused. It did not stay the same. It slid, slowly, quietly. It got worse, because not moving forward is not staying still. Not moving forward is falling back. There is no neutral in this. The people you look up to did not grind their way to the top because it felt good. They got there because they stopped waiting for it to feel good. They trained when their body was wrecked. They worked when every part of them said this was pointless. They sat in rooms by themselves at hours. Nobody else was awake, and they did not flinch. That was not some gift they were born with. That was a call they made. You can make that same call. You can make it right now. Not at the start of next month. Not after one more weekend. Right now. The misery is not coming. It is already there. You already know what it feels like. The only question is whether you are going to keep hiding from it or walk straight into it. You think you know what hard is. You don't. What you have felt so far is annoying, not hard. A rough week, a bad stretch, some days where nothing went right. That is not misery. Misery is doing everything correctly for months and watching nothing move. Misery is being up alone at 4 a.m. with no sign anywhere that any of this is going to pay off, and no one around you who gets it, and no proof that you are not just wasting years of your life. That is when the voice starts. The one that goes back to the beginning and asks why you even started this. That is where most people break. Right there. Your whole life you were taught that bad feelings mean something is broken. If it hurts, stop. If it is hard, there must be a smarter way. If you are miserable, change course. So every time real weight shows up, you treat it like a flashing red light instead of what it actually is. You slow down, you rest, you wait for it to pass. And one day you go back and look and realize it never passed at all. You were just running ahead of it, and it has kept pace with you the whole time. The people who actually got somewhere did not stop when it got miserable. They stopped asking themselves when it would get lighter. They dropped that whole question. They accepted that it was not going to feel good, maybe ever, and they kept going anyway. Not because they wanted to, because they chose to. Through does not feel like progress. Through feels like you are losing until the day it does not anymore. And that day comes out of nowhere, after a long time of nothing. You have no idea what is on the other side of the thing you keep refusing to walk through. None. You have never been there. You have always found a reason to stop or go around. But the people who went through it, they know what is there, and they will all tell you the same thing. Everything you want is right behind the hardest part of the work. Not the version of the work that still lets you sleep 8 hours. The version that takes everything you have and then keeps asking. That is where the thing you want lives. Stop waiting for it to get lighter. It will not. You will get stronger. Those are not the same thing. You get stronger by staying inside it long enough that it loses its grip on you. By going back so many times that you stop dreading going back. Go back to the last time you were genuinely miserable. Not just stressed, not just off, really under. Awake at 2 a.m. with your chest heavy and your mind going in circles and no clarity on whether what you are doing is going to work out. You know that feeling. Now be honest about what you did with it. Most people kill it before it can say anything. Not with anything obvious, just with noise, their phone, something on the TV, a call to complain to a friend who also does not have the answer. Food, sleep, they did not need but used anyway. Anything to get the volume down without actually listening to what the thing was trying to say. And it does not leave. It goes quiet for a few hours, but it does not leave. It drops below the surface, and it lives there, underneath everything, touching every choice you make, and you never go down there and deal with it, because going down there is uncomfortable. What the misery is doing is giving you a map. It is pointing at every weak spot, every place where you took the easier road and left something unfinished, every gap you opened up by choosing comfort when you should have pushed through. It is the most accurate read on your life that you are ever going to get, and you keep throwing it away because it makes you feel bad. You want to be numb to it more than you want to know what it is telling you. And that is why the same problem keeps showing up in different clothes. That is why you wake up with the same weight you went to sleep with. You have not gone into it. Not once. Not all the way. The people who ended up hard, actually hard, not tough on the outside, soft in the middle, but genuinely hard. They did not get there because their life was easy. They got there because when life went sideways, they did not look away from it. They sat down inside it. They let things break that needed to break, and what rebuilt was stronger than what was there before. That is what the hard times actually do when you stay in them. You do not forge iron in a comfortable room. You throw it in the fire. You beat it. You make it go through something, and it comes out different. That is you. That is what is happening right now. If you would stop pulling yourself out before the process finishes, stay in the fire. Everything you could become is already in you somewhere, but none of it comes out when life is easy. None of it surfaces when you are comfortable and surrounded by people who agree with you and have no reason to push. It comes out when you are backed into something with no easy exit, when you have no other move, when the weight of it is real and immediate, and you cannot outsource the carrying of it to someone else. The person you are capable of becoming needs something to pull it out. The misery is what pulls it out, and you keep canceling it before it can do its job. What people miss about misery is what it actually does inside you. They think it just hurts, and then stops. They do not see what is being built while it hurts. You go to the gym. You push past where you want to stop. The muscle tears, literally, tiny tears all through the tissue, and it comes back thicker and harder than it was before. That is not a story. That is what the body does. And the same thing happens in your head when you sit inside something hard and refuse to tap out. The part of you that believed you could not handle it, that part tears. And what grows back is a person who has handled it, who knows they can handle it because they already did. And now the next hard thing is a little smaller. Not because it got easier, because you got different. You cannot get there by reading about it. You cannot listen your way to it, or find a better routine that skips the hard part. There's no version of this where you study your way past the suffering and arrive at the toughness. The toughness is on the other side of the suffering, and the only door between them is walking through it. There is no other door. People who tell you otherwise are selling something. The people who have been through real bad stretches walk differently. You can hear it when they talk. There is no panic in them. They have been through worse, and they know it, and that knowledge sits in them like ballast. They do not need people telling them they are doing great, because they have already proven it to themselves. Somewhere no one else was watching. They know what they are made of because they tested it when it was actually hard, not when it was convenient to be tough. That kind of knowing cannot be handed to you. It does not come from a book or a video or a conversation. You earn it by staying in something hard when everything in you wanted out. That is the only way to it, every single time. So next time it gets really bad, swap the question. Not, how do I get out of this? What is this doing to me? Not, how do I end the discomfort? What is the discomfort pointing at? Sit with it long enough to actually hear what it is saying, because it is not there to ruin you. It is there to show you something about where the gaps are and what still needs work. You want to be someone who does not fall apart under weight. Well, this is the weight, right now, and you are either going to stay under it or you are going to drop it. Nobody else gets to make that call. Nobody prepares you for how lonely it gets. Not lonely in a way that sounds dramatic, lonely in a very ordinary, quiet, grinding way. The people around you are not going to understand what you are doing or why you keep saying no. The ones who care about you will worry, the ones who don't will laugh, and the ones in the middle will just slowly stop reaching out because the answer is always no. You are working, you are busy, maybe next time. You are going to lose people on this road, not because you became someone bad, because you became someone different, because you stopped accepting the same ceiling they accepted. And people who have made peace with a low ceiling do not want someone nearby who hasn't. You will have a lot of nights by yourself, and those nights are going to feel like proof that something has gone wrong. They are not. They are proof that something has changed. Most people spend their whole life surrounded by noise and activity and never once sit still long enough to find out who they actually are without all of it. They never find out what they want when no one is watching. They never find out what they believe when no one is agreeing with them, and they go their whole lives never really meeting themselves. Comfort stole that from them, and they did not even feel it happening. When everything is stripped away and it is 5 in the morning and no one is watching and there is nothing to perform for, that is when you find out the truth, not what you think you are, what you actually are when it costs something to keep going. And you are going to find out one of two things. Either there is more in you than you thought, or there is not enough yet, and you need to build more before you are ready. Either way, that is real information. Either way, you are closer to something honest about yourself than you have been in years. And honest, even when it stings, beats comfortable lies every time. People who cannot sit alone in the quiet without reaching for distraction, they stay small. Not because they are weak, because the dark is where you actually sort things out, where you stop lying to yourself about how ready you are, or how hard you have been working, where the real accounting happens. And if you never go there, you never get a real count. You just keep operating on numbers you made up to feel better. The misery that gets the most people is the kind that does not come with receipts. Not the misery of hard work, that one at least feels like it means something. The misery of hard work with no proof yet that it is going anywhere. Putting in the hours, making the calls, cutting the things out of your life that used to make it comfortable, and waking up the next morning with nothing to point to. No movement, no sign. Just the work and the faith that it is doing something, even though you cannot see it yet. You are building something. You are putting in real hours. You are walking past things that would feel good right now, because you have decided those things cost too much. And there is nothing yet, nothing visible, nothing you can send to someone and say, look, it is working. Just you and the work, and a feeling somewhere in your gut that says keep going. That feeling, right there, is the most important thing you have. It is not logic. It is not proof. It is the thing that got everybody who ever built anything through the stretch where nobody believed it was real yet. Do not let anyone argue you out of it, including yourself. The results do not show up when you start. They show up after you have already paid for most of them, without knowing if the receipt was coming. After you have shown through months of consistent, invisible, unrewarded work that you are not going to fold. That is when things start moving. That is when the outside of your life starts to reflect what has been happening on the inside. But the middle part, the part between starting and the first real sign, that is where almost everyone quits. Right there, close enough that if they had stayed another few months, everything would have looked different. But the misery felt like proof they were wrong, so they stopped. And they spent a long time after that wondering what would have happened if they had just stayed a little longer. Most people tap out at less than half of what they actually had in them. Not because they ran out, because the discomfort convinced them they had. The real ceiling is much further out than you have ever been. You have no idea how far you can actually go, because you have never pushed past the first few walls. There are reserves in you that you have never touched. You only find them when you have already given everything you thought you had and you keep going anyway. That is where they are. Past the point where you were sure you were empty. You do not actually want to win. Some of you want the picture of winning. You want what you imagine it would feel like to have already won. But the actual price, the real thing it costs, you have not been willing to look at that clearly yet. The price is not just hard work. Everybody says hard work like it is one thing. It is not. The price is months or years of being uncomfortable in public and in private, with no guarantee at the end of it that it was worth it. No contract, no promise, just the bet, and the work, and the waiting. That is what they cut out of every success story you have ever seen. They show you the car, they show you the number, they show you the interview where the person is calm and happy, and it all makes sense now. They do not show you the night they sat in a parking lot and could not stop shaking, because they did not know if they had made a terrible mistake. They do not show you the Christmas they worked through, or the friendship that went cold, because they kept disappearing into the work. They do not show you the stretch where they almost quit, and might have quit if they had not been too deep to walk away. None of that makes the highlight reel. So let me tell you straight, it is going to hurt in ways you are not ready for. There will be a loneliness to it that catches you off guard. There will be stretches where the only reason you keep going is that you have already paid too much to walk away with nothing. That is what it looks like on the ground. Not every day, but enough days that you need to know it is coming before it arrives. And all of it, every heavy morning and quiet night and moment where you were not sure you were going to be okay, all of it is worth it. Not for the thing you get at the end, for who you are when you get there. Because going through real weight, without quitting, does something to you that nothing else does. It makes you into someone harder to move. Someone who does not need to be told they are doing well, because they already know. Someone who does not come apart when things get hard because they have been through hard already, and they are still standing. That person is worth every bad day it took to build them. There is a suffering nobody talks about, because it does not look like suffering from the outside. It looks like a guy on his couch, watching someone else do the thing he always said he was going to do. It looks like a woman scrolling past an announcement from someone she started with, who kept going when she stopped. It feels like restlessness that you cannot name, like something low and steady, just below the surface of everything. Not sharp enough to act on, but heavy enough to drag on you every single day. That is what staying below what you are capable of actually feels like from the inside. And most people carry it for years before they understand what it is. That kind is worse than the hard work misery. The hard work misery has a direction. You feel it, and you know roughly why, and you can see that it is building towards something. The other kind has no direction. It just drains, year by year, quietly, until one day you are older and less certain, and the window that was open is not open the same way it was before. That feeling in you right now, the low pull, the thing you cannot quite put your finger on, that is not anxiety. That is not a sign you are in the wrong life. That is your actual potential. Knocking on the door, asking how long you are going to make it wait out there. You can answer it, or you can bury it deeper, but it will not stop knocking. It gets louder as the years go by, and the cost of ignoring it goes up every year too. Not in money, in the knowledge that you had something, and you chose easy instead of going after it. That is not something you recover from fully. That sits with you. Go through the hard thing. Not someday. Now. Because the misery of the grind ends, you get to the other side of it. The other kind. The slow drain of a life lived under what you were capable of. That one does not end on its own. People throw the word discipline around, like it is something you either have or you don't. Like some people came out wired for it, and the rest just have to work with what they got. That is wrong, and it is also a very convenient excuse. Discipline is not wiring. It is a thing you build, and you build it the same way you build anything. By doing it over and over until the doing of it becomes the automatic response instead of the avoiding of it. The most disciplined people you have ever admired are not disciplined because it is easy for them. They are disciplined because they made the same hard call so many times. It became the only call they knew how to make. The guy who runs every morning, whether it is cold or dark or he is tired, did not start out loving it. He started out hating it and doing it anyway. And he did it again the next day, and again. And somewhere in there, the doing of it stopped feeling like a battle and started feeling like just what he does. That did not happen in a week. It did not happen because he found the right app or the right routine. It happened because he showed up enough times in a row that showing up became who he was. You build that the same way, by doing the thing when you do not want to, specifically when you do not want to. That is the rep that counts, not the days when you feel good and the work is flowing and everything is clicking. The day when you are tired and low and the last thing on earth you want is to sit down and do the work. That day, that is the one that builds the actual thing. That is the vote that matters most. Month after month of that, year after year, every time you chose it when it cost you something. And slowly you become a person you actually respect. Not because someone told you that you did a good job, because you proved something to yourself in private when no one was watching. That kind of self-respect does not come from outside. Nobody can hand it to you. You build it one hard morning at a time. What is available to you is not available to most people. Not because you are special, because you are willing to go somewhere most people are not willing to go. That is the only thing that separates the ones who get somewhere from the ones who don't. Not talent, not money, not the right timing or the right connections or the right city. The willingness to stay in the misery longer than most people can stand to stay in it. The price is real. It is going to take things from you. Sleep, friendships, years of Friday nights, comfort you got used to. Certainty you used to have about whether you were making a reasonable choice. It is going to ask for all of that and more before it gives you anything back. And there is no contract. There is no guarantee that it pays out the way you planned. You just have to go in knowing that the only guaranteed outcome on the table is if you don't go in at all, you get nothing. Every other outcome is uncertain, but uncertain is not impossible. Uncertain is where everything worth having actually lives. The people who went through it came out the other side not just with better circumstances, but as different people. People who could not be shaken the same way anymore. Not because the world got less hard, because they got more able. Because they went through something and came out still standing, and now they carry that. The misery was not the punishment. The misery was the whole training, and the thing it trained was them. That is what you are walking into. Not a bad stretch before the good times. A long process of becoming someone who can handle what you want your life to demand of you. That takes time. It takes discomfort. It takes nights where you are not sure, and mornings where you do it anyway. Misery now, something real and lasting after. Comfort now. The same spot you are standing in 5 years from now, just with more regret stacked on top. You know what needs to happen. You have known for a while. The misery has been waiting. Walk into it. The clock does not wait. The days do not slow down to give you more time to feel ready. There is no version of you coming that will find this easy. The version of you that is here right now is the one who has to do it. This one. As you are. Scared or uncertain or tired or whatever the excuse would be today. This is the version that has to walk through the door. And the door is not going to be any lighter later. Stop waiting for the feeling to be right. The feeling will not be right. Walk through it anyway. That is the whole thing. That is the only thing. Walk through it when it is wrong, when it is dark, when there is no sign it is working. Walk through it. And one day you will look back at who you were in the worst of it, and you will barely recognize that person, because the misery will have done its job, and you will be someone it built. Go, and when people ask how you got through it, be straight with them. Tell them it was ugly. Tell them there were days you were not sure you were going to hold it together. Tell them you sat in your car and cried. Tell them you doubted yourself more than anyone else ever doubted you. Tell them all of it. Because the person asking you that question is standing right where you were standing, and they need someone to tell them what nobody told you, that the misery was not a sign they were wrong, that the dark was not the end, that the whole thing starts exactly where you thought it was supposed to stop. One more thing and then you can go. The people who made it, not the social media version, the actual people, what they had was not different from what you have. They were not wired differently. Most of them were not smarter. A lot of them started with less than you. What they had was a tolerance for staying in bad situations longer than other people could. That was it. That was the edge. They could sit inside something that felt like it was going nowhere for longer than the person next to them before they broke. And so they were still standing when the thing finally turned, and the person next to them was not. That is not a superpower. That is a choice you can make, right now. The choice to go back tomorrow, even though today produced nothing. The choice to sit down and do the work, even though you cannot see yet what it is building. The choice to take one more day of this, and then one more after that, and to keep stacking days, because you have decided that quitting, before you find out what this could become, is a price you are not willing to pay. Most people fold at the first serious wall, not because they were weak people, because nobody told them the wall was normal. Nobody told them that the wall is not a dead end. It is just a wall, and walls can be climbed. They hit it, and they assumed it meant they were not supposed to be here, and they turned around. And the tragic thing is that almost everything they wanted was on the other side of that exact wall. That close. That is how close most people get before they go home. You are probably at a wall right now, or you are heading toward one. And when you hit it, remember this: the wall is not the end. The wall is where most people stop, which means on the other side of it there is almost no one. It is clear on the other side. The competition thins out dramatically past the first serious wall, because most people do not cross it. So if you can get over it, you are already in a different category than the majority of people who wanted what you want. You have been in it for a while now, or you are about to get in it. Either way, you already know what this costs. You have felt the early mornings, and the isolation, and the doubt. You know what it is like to want to quit. The only question left is what you do when it asks you again, because it is going to ask you again. The misery does not stop asking. It just changes the day it shows up, and the shape it takes. And every time you say no to it, every time you choose to stay instead of leaving, every time you go back the next morning, you become a little more of the person who does not get stopped by that question. Until one day, the question comes, and you barely hear it anymore. It is still there. You are just different. That is not motivation. That is not some temporary feeling that wears off by Thursday. That is a permanent change in who you are. And the only way to get there is through exactly what you are standing in the middle of right now. The misery. All of it. The whole ugly, grinding, lonely, boring, painful thing. Worth it. Every bit of it. Now actually go. There is something that happens to a person after they have been through real difficulty and come out the other side. Something that cannot be faked and cannot be performed. You can see it in older fighters, in people who went broke and rebuilt, in anyone who had a period in their life that genuinely tested whether they were going to break. There is a stillness to them that other people do not have. Not because they are calm by nature, because they have been through the worst version of the thing that scares you, and they know they survived it. They are not pretending to be unbothered. They actually are not bothered the same way anymore, because the reference point changed, because the thing they went through recalibrated what counts as hard. You want that. You probably feel it when you are around people like that. Something about the way they carry themselves that you cannot fully explain, but you can feel. That is not charisma. That is what it looks like when someone has paid full price for something and knows they can do it again if they have to. And you do not get it by watching someone who has it. You get it by going through your own version of the thing that earns it. The misery is how you pay for that. Not all at once, over time, one hard morning after another, one bad stretch survived, one wall crossed, one night you wanted to quit and didn't. Stacked up over months and years, until the accumulation of all that surviving becomes the thing itself, becomes the way you move through the world, becomes the look in your eye that younger people notice when they talk to you and try to figure out what is different about you. You are building that right now, whether you realize it or not. Every day you stay in it, when you could walk out, you are stacking. Every time you choose the work over the escape, you are stacking. It does not show up the next morning. It does not show up for a long time, but it is stacking. And one day you will look in the mirror and see something there that was not there before. Not a better haircut, not a new look, something behind the eyes. Something that got put there by the process of going through it and staying in it and refusing to tap out. That is worth the misery. That is worth all of it. Every cold morning and quiet night and moment of doubt and wave of feeling like you are not cut out for this. All of it is the price of that thing. And that thing, that quality, nobody can take it from you. Nobody can argue you out of it or belittle it or make it smaller because you did not get it from them. You got it from yourself, from the darkest, hardest, loneliest part of the process, from the misery you chose to stay in. Go through it, all of it. Whatever it is right now, do not walk around it and do not wait for it to pass. Go through the middle of it and come out the other side changed. That is the only move that matters. Everything else is just killing time until you are ready to make it. Here is what the misery actually looks like from the outside when you are in it, because nobody describes this part accurately. It looks like nothing. That is the brutal part. When you are deep in the work, deep in the sacrifice, deep in the hard stretch, from the outside it looks like you are just living a boring, smaller life than everyone else. Your friends are going out. You are not. Your colleagues are coasting. You are grinding. The people around you have more visible fun on their weekends than you do. And for a long time, there is no external difference between you and them, except that your life looks less enjoyable right now. That invisibility is one of the hardest parts, because you want some acknowledgement that what you are going through is real. Some sign from the outside that the sacrifice is being registered somewhere. But nobody is logging it. Nobody is keeping score on your behalf. The invisible work stays invisible until it suddenly isn't. And until that day, you just have to keep going, with no receipt and no applause. That period right there, the invisible period, is where the weak version of you and the strong version of you diverge. The weak version needs to be seen to keep going, needs confirmation that it is working, needs some external proof before it will keep paying the price. The strong version keeps going anyway, not because it is more talented, or more motivated, or wired differently, because it made a decision that the outcome matters more than the validation, that finding out what this builds is worth more than being comfortable while it builds. You are in the invisible period right now, or you are about to be, and the only way through it is to decide before you get deep in it that you are going to stay regardless of how invisible it feels. Because once you are in it, you will not have the luxury of deciding from a calm place. You will be tired and doubtful, and the decision will come from a compromised state. So make it now while you can think straight. Decide now that you are staying, that no amount of silence from the outside world is going to make you walk away from what you are trying to build. One day the invisible becomes visible. One day the accumulation of all the unseen work shows up somewhere real. And when it does, the people who watched you grind through the boring, quiet stretch will ask how you did it. And you will not fully be able to explain, because the explanation is just time and refusal. Time in the misery and refusal to leave it. That is all it is. That is what this whole thing comes down to. Nobody wants to say this out loud, but somebody has to. The version of you that you keep seeing in your head, that locked in, clear-eyed, built, successful version of you, that person is not 3 weeks away. That person is not 90 days away. That person takes years, real years, ugly years, years where you cannot see a single thing happening, years where you are doing everything right, and from the outside, nothing looks different at all. Years where the people who know you don't see it yet. Years where even you start wondering if any of it is real. And if you cannot last through those years, if you walk away the second it stops feeling exciting, then you were never actually after the change. You are after the feeling of starting, and that feeling does not build anything. Time does, work does, staying when every single part of you is screaming to leave. That is what builds the person you keep claiming you want to be. Waiting for the feeling to come back is not doing the work. Telling yourself you will start fresh on Monday is not doing the work. Watching someone else do it and getting fired up about it is not doing the work. Saving quotes on your phone is not doing the work. Telling people about what you are going to do differently this time is not doing the work. Scrapping the old plan every time it gets difficult and drawing up a new one is not doing the work. Downloading the app and setting the alarm and laying out the clothes and then rolling back over is not doing the work. Sitting there thinking about how good it is going to feel when you finally get there is not doing the work. Reading about what other people did to get where they are is not doing the work. Announcing your goal to your friends is not doing the work. Getting fired up on a Sunday night and then finding reasons to do nothing Monday morning is not doing the work. There is one thing that counts as doing the work. Doing the work. Walking in when it is boring. Walking in when it is hard. Walking in when nothing has changed and you have zero proof that it ever will. That is it. That is all there is. People think change is a moment. They think there is some morning where you wake up and you are just different. Like something flipped. Like the body switched overnight. Like the brain decided on a random Tuesday to finally get its act together. That is not how it works. Not even close. Change is not a moment. It is 1,000 mornings pressed on top of each other. It is every single time you showed up when you did not feel like it. Slowly stacking into something that one day you can actually see. One day in the gym is nothing. You cannot see one day. 2 days in the gym is nothing. Still nothing you can point to. 30 days in the gym now, maybe something is starting to move inside you. 100 days in the gym now, you are a different person. Not necessarily a different body. A different person. Someone who made the same choice 100 times in a row. That is who you are becoming. Not from one big dramatic decision, from the same quiet, unglamorous decision, made again and again and again, until it stops being a decision and just becomes who you are. And what nobody says, what everybody skips over, is that most of it is going to be invisible. Most of what changes in you cannot be seen. It lives inside the part of you that used to crumble. The second things got uncomfortable, but now just keeps going. That part of you is shifting, but you cannot photograph it. You cannot post it. You cannot hold it up and show it to anybody. So you start thinking nothing is happening. You start thinking you are wasting months of your life. You start thinking maybe you should try something else. Something with faster feedback. Something where you can actually see the movement. And that is where most people fall out. Right there, in the middle of the invisible part. In the middle of the part that is doing the most work. I want you to really think about that for a second. Think about every person you have ever watched make a big change in their life. Think about how it looked from the outside. You did not see the first 60 days. You did not see the mornings nobody knew about. You did not see them sitting alone deciding again. You saw the result and you thought that happened. Like it was an event. Like one day they were one thing and then suddenly they were another. That is not what you were seeing. You were seeing the end of a process that had been running quietly for a long time before you noticed it. The invisible part was already over by the time you looked. And the only difference between you and them is that they stayed in the invisible part long enough to come out the other side. That is it. That is the only gap. You have to understand what you actually signed up for when you decided to change your life. You did not sign up for a program. You did not sign up for a challenge. You did not sign up for a 90-day fix. You decided to become somebody different. And becoming somebody different does not have a due date. The person you are trying to become is always sitting one floor above where you are. That is how this works. Every time you reach a new floor, you see the next one. Every time you get stronger, you can feel exactly how much stronger you could still get. Every time you learn something, you see the mountain of what you still do not know. That is not failure. That is what actually moving feels like from the inside. It does not feel like arriving. It feels like you are always slightly short of where you want to be. And the people who actually get somewhere are the ones who stopped fighting that feeling and just kept walking toward the next thing anyway. I thought there was a finish line. I really did. I thought I just had to grind through this hard stretch, and then it would ease up, and I would get to breathe and feel like I had made it. And then I got to the place I was so sure would feel like enough, and it did not feel like enough, not even a little. And I did not understand that at first. It felt like something was wrong with me. But there was nothing wrong. You are never done. You are never finished. And I do not say that to be cruel. I say it because it is the best thing that is ever going to happen to you. The fact that you never stop becoming means there is always a reason to get up. Always something worth fighting for. Always somewhere to point yourself. The people walking around feeling hollow are not the ones still in the climb. The people who feel hollow are the ones who sat down. The ones who said, I am good here. I do not need any more of this. Those are the ones who go soft on the inside. Because something old and real inside a human being needs to be in the middle of something. Needs to be reaching. Needs to be unfinished. So stop waiting to land somewhere. Stop picturing a version of this where one day you wake up and all the work is behind you and you just get to sit in it. That day is not coming. And if it did come, you would hate it within a month. What you actually want is to still be in it. You want the reaching. You want the not yet. You just do not know it because you are still fighting the clock instead of running with it. The second you stop fighting, the second you quit asking when and just become the person who shows up, regardless of when something in you settles, not your situation, your relationship to your situation. And that is the only thing that was ever really in your hands anyway. Here is what the middle looks like. You start. You are buzzing. You have made the call. You feel it sitting in your chest like something that could power a city. You are different this time. You wake up early. You do the thing. You feel good. You feel like the old version of you is already dying and something better is taking its place. And then 3 weeks in, maybe a month, the buzz dies. It always dies. That is not a warning sign. That is just what feelings do. They come in hot and they burn out quick. And the second the feeling goes, you find out who you actually are. Because now there is no excitement. Now there is no charge in it. Now there is just the work sitting there in front of you, plain and cold and hard, and you with nothing pushing you toward it. And the question sitting in the room with you is, what are you going to do right now? Most people go back to the couch. Most people say they will come back to it once they feel like it again. Most people sit there waiting for the feeling to return, not realizing the feeling was never supposed to drive them. The feeling is the spark. It gets the engine turning. But what runs the engine after that is not a feeling at all. It is a decision. A decision you make again every morning whether you feel like making it or not. A decision that does not need to feel good to be made. A decision you can make while you are tired, while you are not sure, while you are questioning the whole thing, while you have no sign that any of it is going anywhere. That decision made again and again, quietly, with no audience. That is the whole game. That is the line between the people who actually change and the people who spent years talking about changing. You are going to go through stretches where you work and keep working, and you cannot see a single thing happen. And I need you to understand what is going on in those stretches, because if you do not understand it, you are going to walk away right before everything breaks open. What is happening is compounding. You know that word for money. A small amount put in every day, again and again, building into something enormous over time. Your change works the exact same way. Every day you show up, you are putting something in. And for a long time, the total looks the same. You check it, and nothing seems different. You check it again the next month, and still nothing seems different. You start wondering if your deposits are even registering. They are registering. Every single one, every session, every page, every hour, every hard talk you had with yourself at 2 a.m. when nobody else was awake. Every time you got up when your whole body said do not. All of it going in. And then one day, not because anything special happened, not because you did something you had not done before, one day it tips, and what you see stops you cold, and the people around you say it came out of nowhere. You know exactly where it came from. Every quiet morning nobody saw. Stop holding your day one up next to somebody else's year 7. That is the single most damaging thing you do to yourself, and most days you do not even notice you are doing it. You open your phone, you find somebody who has been at this for years, and you put your beginning next to their middle, and then wonder why you feel small. The gap you are looking at is not talent. It is not luck. It is not that they have something you do not. The gap is time. Only time. That person was standing exactly where you are. Exactly. Same fog. Same days where the needle did not move. Same mornings of wondering what they were even doing this for. The only thing separating you from where they are right now is the years they stayed that you have not stayed yet. And those years are available to you. They are sitting right there. But you only get them by showing up for them, one at a time, without skipping. Comparing yourself is not just painful. It breaks your work. When you are measuring yourself against someone else's results, you stop making good decisions about your own. You rush things that cannot be rushed. You skip the boring fundamentals, because the person you are measuring yourself against is long past the fundamentals, and you want to look like them, so you jump ahead. But you are not building what they built. You are building a surface that looks like their result without putting in the ground that holds it up. And surfaces fall. Always. Maybe not this week. Maybe not this season. But they fall because there is nothing underneath. The underneath is the time. The underneath is every slow, unglamorous day. You did the thing the right way, even when the right way felt like it would never be enough. You cannot fake your way to something real. Real gets built, and building takes your time, not someone else's. There is a chapter in this that almost every single person who ever made something real had to go through. Nobody talks about it, because from the inside it looks like failure, and the story only makes sense once you are out the other side. It is the chapter where you have been at it for a while, and you still have nothing to point to. No results. No recognition, not the body, the money, the skill, the audience, whatever it is not yet, and the people around you do not see it yet. And you are caught in this strange space where you have already outgrown who you were, because doing the work changes you, whether the results show up or not. But you have not yet stepped into who you are becoming. You are between versions. You are in the part nobody posts. That chapter is where most people crack, because it is lonely in there, because there is nothing to show, because your old friends have no idea what you are doing anymore, and the people at the level you are building toward have not shown up in your life yet. Because you are saying no to things, and sacrificing things, and working at hours, other people are sleeping, and you have nothing to hold up as evidence that any of it is worth it. People start asking when it is going to pay off, and you do not have an answer. You just know you have to keep going. That chapter is not proof you took a wrong turn. That chapter is proof something is actually happening. That is the toll. And every person who ever came out the other side of real change paid it. No exceptions. What people want you to do in that chapter is quit. Not because they are cruel, because your stubbornness makes them uncomfortable, because you still being in it is a reminder that they got out. Every day you keep going is a quiet question aimed at everyone around you who stopped. Why are you still at it when nothing has shown up yet? And if you keep going, what does that say about their decision to walk away? So, they tell you to be smart about it. They talk about the odds. They bring up the people they know who tried the same thing, and it did not work for them. They call it concern. Some of it is. Most of it is them protecting themselves from the mirror you are holding up just by refusing to stop. You have to love them and not follow them. You have to hear them out and then walk back into the work. Because not a single person who left this process ever looked back 10 years later and said, "I am so glad I stopped when they told me to." Not one. People want you to do well, just not better than them. Read that again. Say it until it stops being a punch in the gut and starts just being true. It is not vicious. It is just human. Nobody wants to be standing in the same room as someone who went further when they both started in the same place. So people cheer you on, as long as you are still struggling alongside them. The second you start actually pulling away, the second your work starts looking like it might be working, something shifts. The jokes come. The doubt arrives from the outside. The tone in the room changes. And most people feel that shift, and they slow down. Because the pull to stay where everyone around you is comfortable is one of the heaviest things a person can carry. You have to carry it anyway. You have to pull away, even when it costs you friendships and comfort and belonging. Because the other option is staying, and staying is not a neutral thing. Staying is picking the you that fits inside other people's comfort zone, over the you that you were actually supposed to grow into. Let me tell you about the people who waited, not the people who quit, the people who waited. There is a difference and it matters. Quitting is leaving. Waiting is staying inside the work, even when the work is giving you nothing back. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team, not the league, not a professional team, his high school team. And instead of letting that be the verdict, he went home and he worked. He worked and came back so undeniable that nobody could look away. That was not gift. That was time and work, and refusing to let one door tell him the story of his whole life. J.K. Rowling sent her book out and watched 12 publishers say no. 12. People who read Harry Potter and put it back down and said this is not for us. She kept going. She kept writing. She kept feeding the thing, even when the thing was feeding her nothing back. 12 doors closed, and on the other side of the 13th was everything. That is not fortune. That is what refusing to stop actually produces when you give it enough time. Abraham Lincoln lost 8 elections. 8 times the public said not you, not yet, go home. 8 times he went back and kept at it. Walt Disney got let go from a newspaper job because his editor decided he was not imaginative enough. The person who imagined an entire world millions of people still visit, told he had no imagination and shown the door, he kept building. These are not stories about talent or timing or stars lining up. They are stories about time, about deciding that the no you are hearing right now does not get to be the final word. About understanding that the only path to yes is staying in the game until yes becomes available. And yes is always available. You just have to still be standing when it shows up. The thing you are going through right now is not the end of the story. Say that out loud if you have to. What you are in right now is not the end. It is the raw material the next chapter gets built from. Everything you are learning about what does not work. Every wall you are running into. Every way you are getting smarter and harder and clearer about what you are actually doing. All of that is going in. Falling short is not the opposite of getting somewhere. Falling short is the road you take to get there. If you are not coming up short on anything, your target is too small. The size of the gap you are trying to close is a measure of what you actually believe is possible. So close bigger gaps, take bigger swings, fall harder. Because every time you hit the ground, you are picking up things you could not have gotten any other way. Your brain is going to lie to you inside this. That is just what brains do when they are scared. Your brain is going to tell you it has been too long. It is going to tell you that if this were going to work, it would have worked already. It is going to tell you that this kind of thing works for certain people, and you are not one of them. It is going to hunt for every piece of evidence that says stop and hide, every piece of evidence that says keep going. Not because you are broken, because your brain was built to keep you safe and alive, not to grow you into someone unrecognizable. Becoming unrecognizable is dangerous to the brain, so it fights it every step, and your job is not to win the argument with it. You cannot win the argument. Your job is to move anyway. Hear the doubt, then put your shoes on. Feel the fear, then walk out the door. Feel like the whole thing is pointless, then go do the work. Your brain does not get to make the call. You do. And the truly wild thing is that your brain uses your own voice to do it. It is not some outside voice. It sounds exactly like you. Same words, same tone, same rhythm. Making the case for stopping, using the same mouth you use to make the case for going. So you sit there in an argument with yourself, and you do not even realize one side of it is just fear dressed up in your clothes. You have to learn to tell the difference. The side that wants to stop always sounds reasonable, always has a sensible explanation, always points to something real. The side that wants to keep going just says keep going. No logic, no explanation, just keep going. Trust that side. The people who actually change are not the ones who felt sure. They are not the ones who had the most going for them at the start. They are the ones who kept going when they had every reason sitting in front of them to stop. They are the ones who decided the amount of time it was taking was not a good enough excuse to walk away. They are the ones who accepted that they did not get to pick when the results showed up. They only got to pick what they did today, the work in front of them right now, that daily choice, that daily refusal to let one rough week or one rough year write the ending. You do not get to pick when it pays off. That is the part that nobody who has never done something hard wants to accept. We have been sold the idea that if you just find the right method, the right approach, the right person to learn from, you can shave the years down to months. You cannot. Not for anything real. The body changes on its own schedule. The skill develops on its own schedule. The business grows on its own schedule. The healing moves at the pace healing moves. You can work cleaner inside the process. You can sharpen how you show up, but you cannot cut the process out. You cannot buy your way past the time. The time is not the wait before the thing. The time is the thing. Every day inside it is where the actual change happens, not in the photos. And every single day, between the photos that never got taken, because nothing looked different yet. If you are sitting somewhere right now wondering why it has not happened faster, stop. The fact that it is slow is not a red flag. The fact that it is hard is not a red flag. The fact that you have been grinding through this for months and still cannot put the result in someone's hands is not proof you are doing it wrong. It is proof you are doing it right. The right road is always the slow one. It always costs more than you thought you had. It always takes longer than you thought you could hold out. And every time you wake up and choose to stay on it one more day, something in you gets built that could not have been built any other way. Impatience with the timeline is not just uncomfortable, it wrecks your actual work. When you are stuck on how long it is taking, you cannot be inside what you are doing. You check the numbers when you should be adding to them. You look for signs that it is working when you should be making it work. You read about other people's results when you should be producing yours. Impatience yanks you out of the only place anything real ever gets made, which is right here, inside the work itself, and drops you in your head, in the scoreboard, in the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Every minute spent there is a minute you are not building, and every minute you are not building, the timeline stretches. Impatience is expensive. It takes your focus. It takes your presence. It wrecks the quality of what you produce. And bad work takes longer to pay off than good work. So the impatience you think is pushing you is actually the thing slowing you down. A boy and a horse were walking through the woods one day. Dark woods, no clear way through. And the boy looked ahead and said, "I cannot see a way through this." And the horse looked at him and said, "Can you see your next step?" And the boy said, "Yes." And the horse said, "Then just take that. That is the full answer. That is everything. You do not need to see the whole path. You do not need to see where it ends, or how long it takes, or what it looks like in the middle. You just need to see the next thing and do that. Because the end is not made of vision. It is made of steps, one after the other in the dark. The people who got lost were not the ones who could not see far enough. They were the ones who stopped moving because they could not see far enough. The ones who made it through kept stepping, even blind, even slow, even unsure. One step, the next, the one after that. That is the whole strategy. Sounds too plain, but plain and simple are not the same as easy. Knowing what to do and doing it when every part of you wants to sit down. That gap is where everything either gets built or gets abandoned. I have watched it happen. The moment someone stops asking when and starts asking how good. When they stop checking the distance to some imaginary finish line and start asking if they gave everything they had today. When they stop measuring themselves against someone else's progress and just get back to work on their own. Something changes in those people. Not their situation, not overnight, but the way they carry themselves is different. There is a stillness in how they move, a quietness that was not there before, like they signed some kind of peace agreement with the clock, and all the energy they used to pour into fighting the timeline just goes directly into the work now. Calmer, steadier, harder to move, because there is nothing left that can shake them off. Not how long it takes, not what the results look like this week, not what other people say. They just keep walking. What you are building is a tree, not something that flowers in a week, something that takes years before the roots are deep enough to hold, and the root work is underground, in the dark, nothing to see on the surface. And people can walk right over the ground where your tree is growing and see nothing there, just dirt. And they might say, "Nothing is happening here." And you keep watering, you keep showing up, you keep believing in what is underneath, even though you cannot see it, because you know somewhere, without being able to explain it, that what takes a long time to grow goes down deep. And what goes down deep cannot be ripped out, cannot be knocked over. What takes a long time is the only thing that stays. The quick version is fragile. The person who dropped 30 pounds in 60 days on something they could not maintain gains it all back. The person who built an audience by chasing whatever was trending loses them when the trend dies. The person who got to money fast without becoming the kind of person who can manage money loses it. Not every time, but enough times that we should all be paying attention. Fast does not build the foundation. It gets the surface without getting the ground that holds the surface up. The person you have to become to build something and actually keep it, that is the whole point. The thing you built is just the receipt, and you do not build that person fast. You build that person over years of slow, ugly, invisible work that most people look at and decide is not worth it. It is worth it. It is the only work that produces anything that lasts. Day 47. That is what this looks like in practice. Day 47, when the excitement of day 1 is so far gone, you can barely remember what it felt like, when nobody is checking in on you anymore because even the people who were excited for you at the start have moved their attention somewhere else, and you still show up. Not because it feels good, because this is who you said you were. A Thursday afternoon when nobody would know if you skipped, when you could absolutely get away with it and wake up tomorrow and it would be like it never happened. And you do not skip, because the person you are building does not skip. And every time you show up when there is no external reason to, you are driving another nail into a floor that cannot be moved. Not quitting in January, Not quitting in February, when the energy from the new year has completely cleared out, and everyone who started alongside you has already stopped. Not quitting in March. Not quitting in May when the summer hits, and there are 10 things competing for every hour you have. Not quitting in July when you stop and look around and realize you are still not where you thought you would be at this point. Not quitting in October when another full year is almost gone, and the gap feels like it has not moved enough. Not quitting. Not because the results earn it every single month, because the person you are becoming demands it every single month. You cannot build that person in the months you feel like it. You build that person in the months you stay when you do not feel like it. And I know how that sounds. I know how tired that sounds to someone who has already been going for a while with nothing to show. But tired is not the same as done. Tired means you have been working. Tired means you have been putting real weight on yourself. Tired means you are in it. The people who are not tired are the people who are not doing anything. You do not want to be rested and empty. You want to be tired and building. You want to fall asleep, knowing you put something in today, even if nobody noticed, and nothing changed on the surface. That tiredness you are carrying around is not a sign you need to quit. It is a sign you are the right person for this. It is a sign you have been showing up. Now show up one more time, and then again after that. 5 years from now, you are one of two people. The person who stayed in it or the person who did not. And the one who stayed is going to look like they got lucky. People are going to point at them and say, right timing, right place. It just worked out for them. They are not going to see the years. Nobody ever sees the years. They see the result, and they call it luck, and they go back to their lives. And the one who quit is going to be in that crowd, watching from outside, calling it luck, not drawing the line from that outcome back to every ordinary morning that built it. Do not be in that crowd. Be the one who was in the room. Be the one who was in the work. Be the one who showed up so many days, through so much nothing, for so long, that when it finally broke open, there was no shock in you. Just that quiet, private feeling that nobody who was not in the work with you can touch. That feeling lives on the other side of the time, and the only way there is through. Stop treating the clock like it is working against you, and start treating it like it is doing the work for you. Stop fighting how long this takes, and understand that the length of it is the whole point. That is where the value gets built. Stop walking away in the months where nothing is visible, and understand that those months are the foundation months. Do the work today, not some cinematic version of it. The same work you did yesterday, the quiet, plain, unannounced version of it. Do it again tomorrow, again the day after, again the year after that. And at some point you cannot predict, or rush, or engineer. The whole thing tips. What you have been building in the dark, with no applause and no signal that it is working, breaks into the open, and it is real, and it holds, and nobody can take it, because nobody else put the days in. You did. Every boring one, every empty one, every one where you had every reason to stop and did not. That is yours, in a way that nothing fast will ever be. You paid for it with the one thing that cannot be faked or borrowed or shortcut: your time, your days, your plain ordinary mornings where you did something hard that nobody saw. Transformation demands time, not a little time, not a comfortable amount of time, all the time it takes. And your job inside that time is to be there, every day, not dramatic about it, not waiting for someone to notice, just there, doing the thing, steadily, without making a big deal of it, without needing it to feel good to show up for it, showing up anyway. That is the person you decided to be when you chose this. And this does not end until you do. Keep going. Keep building. The clock is moving whether you use it or waste it. Time moves at the same speed, whether you are in the work or on the couch. The same hours pass in a year of going hard as in a year of drifting and watching other people go hard. The calendar does not slow down for effort and does not speed up for laziness. 5 years from now arrives at the same time, no matter what you do between now and then. So this is not really a question of whether you can afford the time. You are spending the time either way. The only question, the only one that matters at all, is what you are spending it on. Something you are going to look back on and recognize. Something you can point to and say, I built that, I went through that, that is mine. Or nothing. Nothing you could not walk away from. Nothing that required anything from you. Nothing you will remember when you get old enough to look back. There is no better moment to start building than this one. Not next week. Not when things calm down. Not when you feel more like it. This one, this ordinary, unglamorous, unexciting, Tuesday in the middle of nothing moment. The people who changed their lives did not wait for a better moment. They took the worst moment they had, and they built inside it anyway. They built when they were broke. They built when they were tired. They built when nobody was watching, and nothing was working, and every sign said stop. And the building they did in those moments, the building that looked like nothing from the outside, that is what eventually became everything. That is what your worst moments are for. Not to survive, to build inside. Go do the work. Everything else finds the ones who stay. There is a quote that hits different when you really hear it. 100 men go to war. 10 of them should not even be there. 80 of them are just targets. 9 of them do most of the fighting. And 1 of them is a warrior. 1. And what makes that quote land is not the numbers. It is that you can walk through any family and see the exact same ratio. In every family there are people who show up and people who do not. People who carry the load and people who act like the load is somebody else's problem. People who are solid when everything goes sideways, and people who disappear the second things stop being comfortable. And somewhere in every family, somebody becomes the one person that everyone else quietly orbits around when life gets hard. Somebody decides, not with a speech, not with a big announcement, just with how they live, that they are going to be the person this family does not have to worry about losing, and that somebody does not need a title, does not need to be the oldest or the most educated or the one with the most money. They just need to make a decision that most people spend their whole lives avoiding. The decision to be responsible for something beyond their own comfort. Your family is looking for that person right now, and somewhere inside you, you already know whether or not you have been that person. Nobody tells you what it actually costs to be the one. Nobody sits you down and walks you through it. They do not tell you it means being the last one to fall apart and the first one to act. They do not tell you it means carrying weight you never signed up to carry, answering for problems you did not start, staying steady when everything in you wants to crack. You just find out. The phone rings at 2 in the morning and somebody is in trouble and there is nobody else. The money dries up and every face in the house is turned toward you, waiting for an answer you do not have yet. Somebody in your family breaks down and they do not need advice or solutions. They just need you to be in the room and be solid. And in those moments there is no manual. There is no version of you that exists outside of what you have actually built up to that point. Whatever you have made yourself into, that is what walks into the room. That is what they get. What you do today in private, with no one watching, with nothing on the line, is exactly who you are going to be in those moments. Not the version of yourself you have planned to become. Not the man you think about being when you are feeling good about yourself. The actual you. The one built from every choice you made when it was easy to make a different one. If that version is soft, if that version cuts corners and finds reasons and folds when things get uncomfortable, that is what your family gets when they need you most. So the real question is not whether your family needs that one man. Every family does. The question is whether you have been doing the work to be him, and that work does not get paid once. It does not happen in some single dramatic moment you can point to. It is every morning. It is every time you choose the harder thing when the easier one is sitting right there. It is in all the invisible moments where nobody is keeping score except you. Every day you either do it or you do not. And either way, your family lives inside the result of that, even when they cannot name why things feel the way they do. What makes it hard is that nobody around you is going to confirm that the work is adding up. You are not going to get a report card. Your family is not going to sit you down and tell you, they noticed you have been more consistent lately. The work happens in silence, and the results come slowly, and there are long stretches in the middle, where you cannot see anything changing at all. That is where most men stop, not because they are quitters in some fundamental way, but because they needed feedback and the feedback did not come. You have to be willing to work in the silence. You have to trust what you are building even when you cannot see it yet. Because it is accumulating. Every single day it is accumulating. And one day the gap between who you were and who you have become will be so wide that your family feels it in every room you walk into. There was a man who talked about the day things changed for him. He said every man eventually hits a day where being average makes him sick, not annoyed, not restless, sick, where he looks at what he has built, looks at what his family has because of what he built, and something in him refuses to keep accepting it. And he said that day is the best thing that can happen to a man, because before that day he was just floating, doing enough to avoid falling but nowhere near enough to actually rise. And then that day comes and something in him breaks open, and what comes out of that break is something he had never let himself feel before. A refusal to keep going the way he had been going. Most men wait for something outside of them to create that day. They wait for a sign. They wait for someone to come and shake them awake. That is not how it works. You have to go find it yourself. You have to get into a quiet room and be completely honest about what your life looks like. Look at what your kids are actually going to walk away with from growing up in your house. Not money alone. The habits they saw modeled. The standard they watched you hold yourself to. What your mother has had to carry alone because no man stepped in. What your father left undone that you have been repeating without noticing. Sit with all of it. Let it get heavy. Because that heaviness, if you stop running from it, is what finally moves you. The man who decides to be the one does not do it when things are going well. He does it when he finally gets clear about what is actually at stake. And what is at stake is not his career or his image, or whether people think he is doing a good job. It is the people sitting in his house. It is the people who did not choose him as their father, or their brother or their husband, but who are depending on him anyway. And once you feel that weight for real, not as an idea but as an actual thing, you cannot unfeel it. Every soft choice you make after that point hits different, because now you know what it is costing. Sit with what your family actually needs from the man who is supposed to be the strong one, not what they ask for, what they need. They need a man who does not panic. When the job gets shaky, when the money stops adding up, when something happens that nobody planned for, the average man panics. He goes quiet or he goes loud. He checks out mentally or he explodes. And underneath both of those reactions is the same thing. A man who has never made himself hard enough to absorb a shock without shattering. Your family needs a man who looks at the hard thing, takes a breath, stays in the room, and stays in the problem until something moves. That is not a personality. That is not something you either have or do not have. That is built. You build it by putting yourself in hard situations on purpose, by staying in conversations that make you uncomfortable, by finishing things when you want to quit halfway, by saying no to what feels good right now, because you have something bigger going on. Every time you do that, you are making yourself into the man who does not flinch. That man does not appear when the crisis arrives. He has to already be there. They need a man who does not reach for an excuse when things fall apart. The average man has a story for everything that went wrong. The business failed because of the market. The job ended because of the boss. The relationship broke because of what the other person did. Some of those things happened, but the man who holds a family together is not interested in who is to blame. He is interested in what he is going to do next. He takes ownership of things even when the fault is not entirely his, not because he is a pushover, but because ownership is the only position from which anything actually gets fixed. Blame sits still. Ownership moves. They need a man who tells the truth, not brutal truth thrown at people to make a point, but truth that gives his family something real to stand on. A man who does not tell his family everything is fine when it is not, because a comfortable lie is still a lie, and you cannot build anything on it. What they need is a man who looks at the real situation, says what it is clearly, and then leads the way through it without theatrics and without self-pity. There is a story about a man who woke up before the sun every morning, not because anyone told him to, because he had made a decision about who he was going to be, and that decision had consequences for every hour of every day. Someone who knew him well talked about trying to be the first one down to breakfast, setting the alarm, making sure he was up by sunrise. But when he got there, the other man was already there, already done with his workout, ice packs on his knees, sweat still on him. This was days after the NBA Finals. Everyone else was recovering. He was already building the next thing. And it is not about basketball. It is about what it means to decide something about yourself, and then actually live inside that decision every day, without giving yourself a day off from it, without deciding that today is the exception. The men who become the ones their families needed do not have special genetics. They do not have some internal switch that makes discipline feel easy. They made a decision at some point that other men never made. They decided that they were going to be that person, and then they woke up the next morning and acted like that person, and then they did it again the morning after that. Not because it felt natural, because the decision was bigger than the feeling, and over time the decision reshaped the feeling. Over time the early morning stopped being a fight and became just how they started the day. Over time the hard choice stopped feeling like a sacrifice and became just what they did. That is how it actually works, not a dramatic overnight change. A quiet daily accumulation that builds something over time that could not have been built any other way. Your family does not need the version of you that shows up on the easy days. Everybody shows up on easy days. That is not impressive. That proves nothing. They need the version of you that shows up when you are running on 4 hours of sleep and the car needs a repair you do not have the money for and you feel like the walls are closing in. That version of you is the one that matters. That is the version your kids are going to remember when they are grown. That is the version your partner carries with them when they think about whether they can count on you. That version of you either stands or it does not. And which one it does depends entirely on who you have been building yourself into every ordinary day that led up to it. A man is not measured by how he carries himself when everything is working. He is measured by what he does with himself when it is not. Nobody talks honestly about what it feels like when you decide to stop being like everyone around you. When you decide you are going to wake up early and do the real work and stop making excuses and stop folding when things get hard, the people around you are not always going to clap for that. Some of them are going to get weird about it. Your discipline makes people uncomfortable because it shows them what they are not doing. So they tell you to relax. They say you are too serious. They say you need to enjoy your life. And some of the people saying this are people you actually love. You cannot let that move you. They are not the enemy. They are just living by a different set of rules. And when you stop living by those same rules, it feels to them like a criticism. It is not. It is just a different choice. Your job is to make that choice and keep making it without needing anyone around you to approve of it. You are not doing this for their approval. You are not doing this so someone calls you disciplined or hardworking or whatever else. You are doing this because your family is depending on you whether they know how to say it or not. Kids do not tell their father what they need from him. They watch him. They watch what he does with a free hour. They watch how he handles money when there is not enough. They watch how he talks about the people in his life. They watch how he reacts when something does not go his way. All of that watching adds up to a picture of what a man is. And that picture becomes what they carry into every relationship and every decision for the rest of their lives. The hardest part of becoming the one is that it is a solitary road for a long time. You are going to be up when other people are sleeping. You are going to be working when other people are unwinding. You are going to be saying no to things you actually want to do because you have already made a commitment to something that matters more, and very few people around you are going to understand why. They are going to see someone who has changed and is harder to reach and does not come out like he used to. What they are not going to see, because it happens on the inside and shows up slowly on the outside, is the man being built behind all of that. You have to be okay with that lag. You have to be willing to do the work without the recognition until the recognition is undeniable. That takes a kind of patience that most men do not have, because most men need external confirmation that they are on the right path. The man who becomes the one learns to confirm it himself. He knows what he is building even when nobody else can see it yet. What picture are you giving them right now? And be honest about this. Kids do not inherit who you were planning to be. They inherit who you actually were. The habits you had, the standards you actually held when nobody was grading you, the way you spoke when you were tired and frustrated, the way you responded when life did not go the way you needed it to. The gap between who you meant to be and who you actually were is not invisible to them. It is one of the most visible things in their world, even when they are too young to have words for it. It shapes what they believe is normal, what they believe is acceptable, what they believe a man actually is, underneath all the things a man says he is. Give them something that holds up, not just financially. Give them a father who kept his word, a man who stood in the gap between his family and the hard things, and did not make a big deal about it, he just handled it. That is the thing that travels forward through generations in a way that no amount of money ever could. Pressure is not something that happens to you. Pressure is how you find out what you actually are, not what you believe yourself to be, not what you tell people you are, but what is actually there when something is squeezing you. Some men, when real pressure arrives, get sharp. The difficulty does something to them that normal conditions could never do. It pulls out something that was always in there, but had no reason to come forward. And some men, when real pressure arrives, go hollow, not because they are bad people, but because they have never made themselves carry anything heavy before the moment when they had no choice. You can make yourself into the man who sharpens under pressure. It is not wired into you at birth. You build it like anything else. You build it by choosing the hard thing when the easy thing is available. By staying in the difficult conversation when walking out would be easier. By following through when you do not feel like it. By finishing what you said you were going to finish. Every one of those moments is a small test, and every time you pass it, you are making yourself a little more capable of passing the next one. Over enough time, over enough repetition, you stop flinching. Not because nothing is hard anymore, because you have proven to yourself over and over again that you can carry hard things and keep moving. Can you summon what you have when the moment actually calls for it? Can you deliver when the stakes are real and there is no second chance? That is the only question that actually matters when you are deciding what kind of man to be, not whether you are talented. Talent is everywhere, and it means almost nothing without the other thing. Not whether you are smart. The world is full of smart men who never became anything because they could not perform when it counted. Can you be the version of yourself your family needs when that version is the hardest version? That is the question. And do not wait for the big moments to practice the answer. The big moments do not show up on a schedule, but the small moments do. Every night when your kid wants your attention and you are tired, that is the moment. Every morning when the alarm goes off and you would rather not, that is the moment. The quiet ones, the invisible ones. That is where the actual man gets built. Anyone can step up when the whole room is watching. The ones who matter are the ones who step up when nobody is watching at all. Every single thing counts. Every hour, every choice, the thing you read or do not read, the hour you use or waste, the word you keep or break. Most men make the mistake of thinking only the big things get recorded somewhere. They think showing up to the job counts, but what they do with the other 16 hours does not. They think the gesture counts, but the daily grind does not. They think how they act when someone is watching counts, but how they act alone does not matter. None of that is right. It all goes in. Every decision you make, day after day, is adding up to the man you are becoming. And the man you are becoming right now is exactly who your family is going to get when they need someone to show up. There is no version of this where you are sharp and solid and reliable when it matters, but careless and inconsistent the rest of the time. There is only the man you actually are, all of him, including what he does at 11 at night when nobody is grading him, including how he talks to himself when things are not working, including what he does with a free Saturday when there is nothing forcing him to be productive. All of it is the man. There is no separation between the private version and the version your family gets. They are the same person. And if the private version is cutting corners and telling himself it does not count, the family version is going to show up hollow when the moment calls for something real. So stop coasting. Stop spending months going through the motions and telling yourself you will get serious when something important comes along. Important things do not wait for you to feel ready. Your family does not space out their crises to match your schedule. They need the version of you that you have been building in the background of every ordinary day. If you have not been building anything, they get nothing when they reach for it, and that nothing has consequences that land on people who never did anything to deserve it. Look 5 years out, not 20, just 5. Picture who you are going to be in 5 years if you start doing the actual work today. If you stop treating your hours like they belong to no one. If you stop making decisions based on what is comfortable right now and start making them based on what you are actually trying to build. The man who gets up before anyone else in the house, not because he enjoys it, but because he knows that every hour he gets before the day starts asking things of him is an hour that belongs entirely to the gap between him and who he was yesterday. That gap grows without announcing itself, slowly, across months and then years. And the family that has a man on the far side of that gap lives an entirely different kind of life than the family of the man who never bothered to close the space between who he was and who he needed to be. Most men overestimate what they can change in a week and completely underestimate what they can change in 3 years. 3 years of getting up an hour earlier than you used to. 3 years of reading instead of scrolling. 3 years of finishing what you started instead of leaving things half done. 3 years of handling your money differently, talking to your kids differently, responding to stress differently. That is not the same man who started. That is a different person wearing the same face, and the family living with that person is not the same family either. They are not bracing themselves for the next thing to go wrong. They are not quietly managing around the weak spots they have learned to work around. They are building on something. They are resting on something real. You are not stuck where you are. That is not a phrase. That is a real thing. You are not genetically locked into the version of yourself that you are right now. Every hard thing you go through, every discipline you actually practice instead of just thinking about, every time you push past the point where you wanted to stop, you are literally building something in yourself that was not there before, something your family gets access to, something that changes what is possible for them. But you have to actually do it, not plan to do it, not feel inspired about doing it. Do it today, with the exact life you have right now, starting from the exact spot you are standing in. Let me tell you what a family looks like when no one steps up, when they search and come up empty, when something hard hits, a medical bill, a layoff, a family member falling apart, and there is nobody in that house who is built to absorb the shock. What happens is everyone breaks at the same time. Everyone needs the same thing simultaneously, and there is nothing to pull from. The family does not collapse in one moment. It just slowly hollows out. People stop bringing their problems home because bringing them home does not help anything. The kids figure out early that strength is not something they can count on from the adults around them, and they take that with them into their friendships, into their relationships, into the way they raise their own kids someday. The absence of one solid man ripples forward in ways that never stop. That hollowing happens quietly. It does not have a dramatic moment you can point to. It just accumulates in the space where someone steady was supposed to be and was not. And the man who could have been that person, who had every capability to be that person, just never made the call, was always almost ready, was always waiting for conditions that never came. Because conditions do not come, you make them. You make them by deciding that you are the one, and you are not waiting anymore. Your family does not have time for you to get ready. They need you moving now, not perfect, not finished, moving, working, showing up every day with the full weight of what you are trying to become behind every choice you make. There is a version of commitment that most men never actually reach. They commit to things with an exit built in. They go in hard but keep one foot near the door in case it does not pan out. And that exit, that small piece of themselves they kept back, that is the very thing that lets them quit when things get genuinely hard. The man who becomes the one for his family has to burn that exit, has to remove the option of stopping, not because stopping is always wrong in every situation, but in this particular thing, in the commitment to be the man his family deserves. Stopping is not something the family can afford, so he stops giving himself the option. David Goggins talked about embracing the ugly, embracing the miserable, not for the sake of suffering, not because pain has some poetic value, but because the man you need to be for your family, the one who is steady, who follows through, who does not fold. That man gets built in the moments that are genuinely terrible. He gets built when you are exhausted and you keep going anyway. When everything in you wants to call it a day and you do not call it a day. When the easy path is right there and you take the other one. You keep doing that long enough and eventually it stops being a decision. It just becomes how you are. That is when it gets real. That is when the man your family has been looking for actually exists. Not as an idea, not as an intention, but as the person who walks through the door every night. Right now, somebody in your family is watching you. They might not be doing it consciously, but they are watching. They are picking up on whether you follow through on things or let them slide. Whether you are the same person in private that you are when other people are around. Whether you are building towards something or standing still. And what they see is forming in them a belief about whether or not you are going to be there when things really go wrong. You can change what that belief becomes, not by talking about it, not by making promises, by doing the work, by being the same man on a Wednesday morning with nothing on the line as you are when something matters, by showing up today and tomorrow and not stopping, by being the man who handles what needs handling because it needs handling, not because someone is watching. When you start to see everything hard in your life differently, Not as something that happened to you, but as something that made you. Everything changes. The job you lost was building you. The money you did not have was building you. The nights you had to figure something out with nothing was building you. Every rough thing was doing something to you underneath. The question is whether you let it do the work, or whether you let it just be something bad that happened. Let it do the work. Come out of every hard stretch more capable than you went in. Your family gets access to whatever that builds. And what it builds, over enough time and enough hard things faced head-on, is a man who does not rattle. A man who is still standing when the ground shifts. A man they can actually count on. That is who your family is looking for. Not in 20 years now. And the only thing between the man you currently are and the man they need is whether you decide to close that gap or keep telling yourself you will get to it. Some men made this decision at 22. Some made it at 45 after a decade of coasting and soft choices and wasted time. It does not matter when it gets made. It matters that it gets made. It matters that at some point you look at the people who depend on you and make the quiet decision, not out loud, just in the place where real things get decided, that you are going to be the person they deserve, not because it is easy for you, not because you have always been that, because they deserve it. Because your kids deserve to grow up watching a man who does what he said he was going to do. Because that is the thing they will carry forward more than anything else you could ever give them. And it is never too late to make that decision. That is the part people get tripped up on. They look at years of not being who they needed to be, and they use that history as a reason to keep going the same way. As if the wasted time is an argument for wasting more. It is not. Every day you keep going the same way is another day that gets added to the distance. Every day you decide differently is a day you start closing it. You do not have to fix everything that came before. You just have to stop adding to it. You just have to get up tomorrow and be slightly more solid than you were today, and then do it again and again, until the accumulation becomes undeniable, until the people in your house start to feel the ground beneath them differently, until they stop bracing for the worst because they have learned, through watching you, that the worst is something you handle. Most men never make this decision. They float their whole lives in the safe middle. Enough to get by, but never enough to actually build something. And their families live in the limits of what a floating man can give. Those limits touch everything, not just the bank account, the feeling of safety, the confidence that whatever comes, there is someone in this house who is going to handle it. Most families never feel that fully, because most men never gave it to them. Do not be one of those men. Not because of what people will think, because of what it cost your family when you are not the one they needed you to be. Get into the role, do the work, every day, with no applause and no guarantee and no perfect moment to start. Just do it. Stop waiting for circumstances to line up. They are not going to line up. The man your family needs does not wait for perfect conditions. He works in whatever conditions exist. He starts from wherever he is. He does not negotiate with himself about whether today is the right day. Today is always the right day. Tomorrow is always too late to start something you could have started today. The discomfort of doing this is real. The early mornings are real. The things you miss are real. The moments where you want to stop and do not stop, those are real. And all of that goes away eventually. What does not go away is the man it makes. The man who got tested and stayed in it. That man is what your children grow up next to. That man is the standard they hold themselves to when they are grown and trying to figure out what kind of person to be. That man is the reason your family's story goes a different direction than it would have gone without him. Everything you build echoes forward, and everything you fail to build echoes forward too. You are not just doing this for yourself. You are doing it for the people who come from you and the people who come from them. The story of where your family comes from is being written right now by who you are choosing to be right now. Do it tired. Do it sad. Do it when nobody believes in you. Do it when you don't believe in yourself. Because if you're waiting for the right feeling, if you're waiting to feel motivated and ready and confident before you start, you're going to be waiting your whole life. That feeling doesn't come first. It never comes first. It comes after. After you've already started. After you've already put in days that felt pointless. After you've shown up so many times in a row that showing up becomes the only thing you know how to do. That's when the feeling comes. Not before. I dare you. I genuinely dare you. 6 months. Just give 6 months everything you have. No announcements. No updates, no checking who's watching. Lock the door, put your head down, and build. And if at the end of those 6 months nothing has changed, you can go back to how you've been living. But I promise you, something will change. Because 6 months of real committed private work changes a person at a level that nothing else can reach. Not a book, not a video, not a conversation. The work itself, the daily act of showing up when nobody's watching and doing the thing anyway. That changes you from the inside out. And the person that comes out on the other side is not the same one who went in. You let yourself fall off again. And I know you hate that. You hate looking in the mirror right now because of what you see, because of what you let happen. You were in it. You were locked in. You had that version of yourself going. And then somewhere it stopped. Somewhere you slipped back into the old habits, the old excuses, the old version of yourself that you swore you were done being. And now here you are, again. But here's the thing. Falling off is not the problem. Staying down is the problem. Every person who ever became something fell off. Every single one of them. The question was never did they fall. The question was, what did they do the morning after? Did they get up? Did they get back in the mode? Did they go again? That's the whole difference between the people who make it and the people who spend their lives watching other people make it. Just that. Just the getting back up. So get back in that mode. That mode where nothing can touch you. That mode where you're putting in the work every single day and nobody can tell you anything. You know that mode. You've been there before. You remember what it felt like. You remember waking up with a direction, going to bed knowing you moved. Every day, a step. Every step taking you somewhere the old version of you couldn't reach. That mode is still there. It didn't go anywhere. You just have to choose it again. Today, not when you feel ready. Right now, I wake up sometimes, and I don't want to do anything either. I look at what I'm supposed to do, and I think, man, do I really have to? And then I ask myself, do you want to be that guy today? Do you want to walk around all day knowing you could have and you didn't? And the answer is always no. So I go. Not because I feel like it. Because I can't stand the feeling of not going. You're not the smartest. You're not the best looking. You might not have the most talent, or the most resources, or the best starting point. But you've got something. Something that got you here. Something that made you watch this video and keep watching instead of clicking off. Something that keeps coming back even after you fall off. Don't you dare waste that. Don't be out here playing with your potential. You are one of the ones. You were meant to be somebody. And the only thing standing between who you are right now and who you were meant to become is the decision to stop waiting and start going. Here's what disappearing actually is. Because most people have it wrong. They think it means quitting. They think it means giving up on people or running away from something. That's not it. Disappearing is the most aggressive thing you can do. It means you've decided that what you're building matters more than what people think of you while you're building it. It means you've stopped living for the audience and started living for the outcome. It means you've chosen the work over the watching, and that is a hard choice. Because the watching feels good. The likes feel good. People knowing what you're doing feels good. But none of that builds anything. None of that gets you anywhere. The work builds things. The private, unseen, thankless work that nobody gives you credit for because nobody even knows you're doing it. That's the thing. For me, the worst thing you can do is let people know what you want before you have it. Never let them know. Because the second you announce the plan, you've handed it to other people. And people, even the ones who love you, will water it down with their doubt. Not on purpose. Just because what you're going for looks impossible from where they're standing, and they're looking at what's probable. But you have to operate on what's possible. And the moment probable gets into your head, possible starts shrinking. So don't tell them. Don't post about it. Don't explain it. Just go do it. When I disappear, you know I'm doing something. That silence means something. That quiet means I'm somewhere you can't see me, and I'm building something you're not ready to see yet. And it's going to be lonely. I'm not going to lie to you about that. It's going to be genuinely, deeply lonely. Not the kind you can fix with a phone call. The kind where you're sitting in a room that used to feel full and now it's just you and the work. The kind where the group chat is going and you're not in it. Where people are out on a Friday and you're in. Where someone you used to call every other day stops calling because you stopped being available and they moved on. That's going to happen. And in that loneliness, there's going to be a pull. A real pull. To go back. To slip back into the old circle. The old life. The old version of yourself that was smaller, but at least wasn't alone. And you have to be ready for that pull. Not fight it, just be ready for it. See it for what it is. The price. This is what it costs. The loneliness is the price of becoming something, and you either pay it or you don't. But if you don't pay it, you don't get what's on the other side. There is a period in everybody's journey where they don't fit anymore. Where the old circle doesn't fit, but the new one hasn't formed yet, and you're just floating in the middle, between who you were and who you're trying to become. That gap is the scariest place, because you've already left something behind, and you can't yet see what's ahead. And most people in that gap go backwards, because backwards is at least familiar. Don't go backwards, stay in the gap, keep working. The other side is real. People only root for you at the beginning and at the end. At the beginning when it's exciting and new and full of possibility. And at the end when you've already made it and they can share in the win. Neither of those is when you actually need it. The middle is when you need it. And the middle is when nobody shows up. So you have to be your own crowd in the middle. You have to be the only one keeping score. You have to know you're winning, even when there's no scoreboard and no audience. And no one watching but you. See, everybody talks about being loyal. When it's actually time to be loyal, everybody disappears. You find out real fast in those 6 months who is actually in your corner, and the answer is usually a smaller number than you thought. That's okay. That's actually good, because the people who stay when you're in the darkened building and have nothing to show yet, those are the real ones. And you only find them by going into the dark and seeing who follows. I was running a race once, 24 hours, relay format, 4 friends, and one by one they dropped out. All 4 of them gone, and any reasonable person would have stopped. You can't run a relay race alone. That's not what a relay race is. But he didn't stop. He just kept running, every mile by himself, in the dark, no team. No reason to keep going that anyone else could see. Just him and the choice of whether to continue or not. That's the 6 months. That's exactly what the 6 months is. You running the race alone. No teammates, no cheering section, no one to hand the baton to. Just you and the track and the decision every single morning to go again. And it feels pointless for a long time. It feels like nothing is happening. Like the work isn't working, like you're running in circles, and the circles aren't going anywhere. And then one day you look up, and you've gone further than anyone around you even knew you were trying to go. The doctor looked him in the eye and said, "You will never box again." 2 fractured vertebrae, partial paralysis, a tear in the eye while he said it, because even the doctor felt the weight of that sentence. And he looked right back at that doctor and said, "No, you're wrong. I'm going to box again or I'm going to die trying." 13 months later, he was back. 3 titles. You don't prepare for someone like that. You can't. Because someone like that doesn't operate on what's probable. They operate on what they've decided. And what they've decided doesn't care about your medical opinion. That's what 6 months of real work does to a person. It builds that thing in you. Not the kind of confidence you perform. Not the kind you fake until it arrives. The kind that comes from having done something hard alone and come out the other side. The kind that doesn't need the room to believe in it because it has its own evidence. That's the thing you're building. Not just skill, not just results. That internal knowing, that settled certainty about what you're made of, that nobody can give you and nobody can take. And you have that in you already. The raw material is there. You've survived things you didn't think you would survive. You've gotten up on mornings when getting up felt impossible. You've done hard things. You know that about yourself even if you've forgotten it recently. The 6 months doesn't create the material. It just refines it, shapes it, turns the raw thing into something finished and real. But you have to give it the 6 months to do that. You can't rush it. You can't shortcut it. You just have to stay in the process long enough for the process to work. Now let me talk about the people, because they're going to have opinions, a lot of opinions, and they're going to share them, whether you ask or not. When you go quiet, people talk, not because they're bad people, because silence makes people uncomfortable. Because when someone they know stops performing their life for the world, stops posting, stops being available, stops fitting into the usual rhythm, it triggers something in them. And instead of looking inward at what that trigger means, most people look outward and start creating stories. He thinks he's better than us. She changed. Something must be wrong with him. He gave up on his dreams. Let them talk. Every word of it. While they're building stories about you, you're building your life. While they're having conversations about why you went quiet, you're working in the quiet. You keep gossiping. I keep working. You keep talking. I keep working. You keep watching. I keep working. And I will win. Not because I'm the most talented, because I refuse to stop. Scoring champions can't win titles. You're good, but you're not as good as those guys. 9 businesses failed, one after another, and people said I told you so every time. They were right in that moment, but not forever. The story isn't finished. Everything looks like failure before it becomes success. The people watching the middle of your story don't get to decide how it ends. Only you get to decide that. Get quiet, actually quiet. Put the phone down. Turn the notifications off. Stop watching what everyone else is building and start building. Because here's what happens to your mind when the noise stops. Something shifts. Something that was buried under all the input, all the scrolling, all the constant stream of other people's lives, flooding yours, starts to surface. Clarity, real clarity. The kind that only comes after you've been silent long enough that your own thoughts stop feeling like strangers. Most people are never alone with their own thoughts long enough to find out what their thoughts actually are. They wake up and immediately reach for the phone. They fill every quiet moment with something, because the silence is where the real questions live. Am I on the right path? Is this actually what I want? Am I becoming who I said I would become? Those questions are heavy. It's easier to drown them in noise than answer them honestly. But you can't build the right life if you don't know what the right life is. And you can't find that out while you're drowning in everybody else's noise. What are you willing to give up? That's the first question. Not what do you want? What are you willing to give up? Because a lot of people want the outcome. Almost nobody is willing to surrender what the outcome costs. The comfort, the social life, the easy weekends, the approval of people who don't even know what you're capable of. If you can sit down and say honestly, I am willing to give up everything, and mean it, then everything becomes possible. The person who is willing to give up everything to become something is the person the universe moves for, not the person who wants it a little. The person who wants it so bad that what they have to sacrifice stops feeling like a sacrifice. Why are you so antisocial? Because I'm trying to get it. Why are you always working when everyone else is out? Because I'm trying to get it. Why don't you come out anymore? Because I'm trying to get it. The more weird you seem to the people around you is just a measure of how committed you are. The more they can't understand your choices, the more clearly it means you are on a different frequency. And that's not a problem, that's the answer. You're supposed to be on a different frequency. You're building a different life. And I need to talk about the people who are going to try to pull you back. Because they will. Not out of malice most of the time, out of their own discomfort. Because your growth is a mirror. When you go quiet and serious and focused, it reminds them of what they're not doing. And instead of doing it, most people would rather bring the mirror down. They're going to say you changed. They're going to say you think you're better than them. They're going to say, come out, relax. Why are you so serious? You used to be fun. They're going to use everything they have to pull you back to a level that makes them comfortable. And you have to be ready for that. Not angry, not bitter, just ready. The way you're ready for rain when you know it's coming. You see it, you acknowledge it, you keep walking. You see, while they're talking about you, you're working. That's the whole answer. Not a reply, not a post, not a clap back. Just work. Keep your head down and keep building. And when the results show up, and they will show up, you won't have to say a word. The life will say it. The thing you built will say it, louder than you ever could have. Haters know who you are. They know your name, but you don't know theirs. There's a reason for that. You've done something. Even before it's finished, you've become someone who registers. And the fact that it bothers them, the fact that they feel the need to have opinions about your silence and your choices and your path, that's confirmation. Not just something to survive, actual confirmation, added to the fire. Every laugh, every side comment, every person who says you're not going to make it, add it to the fire and burn it. That's fuel. Use it. Stop announcing. That's the whole thing. That's the whole message, in 3 words. Stop announcing. Stop telling people what you're about to do before you've done it. Stop posting about the journey when you haven't arrived anywhere yet. Stop letting people observe the process and feel like they have a say in the blueprint. The moment you tell someone your plan, you've handed them a piece of it. And most people will not take care of it the way you need them to. Do the work in private. Do it at 2 in the morning when nobody's there. When the only person who knows whether you showed up is you. When there's no camera, no audience, no one keeping score. Those times, specifically those times. Because that's where the real stuff is built. Everything you see on the surface of a person's life, every result, every win, everything that looks like it happened fast, that's just the top of something that was built underground for a long time, in those invisible hours that nobody saw. You get rewarded in public for what you practice in private. Write that somewhere. That's not a slogan. That's the actual mechanics of how it works. 6 months of private. 6 months of nobody seeing it. 6 months of showing up anyway. And then watch what happens in public. Steph Curry shoots 500 shots every single day. Every day. 7 days a week. Since before he was in college. His father trained him. 500 shots. 3,500 a week. Almost 170,000 a year. And when he turns around before the ball even goes in and waves because he already knows it's going in, people say it's magic. They say, nobody in history has ever shot like him. And they're right. But the magic is not what they think it is. The magic is the 500 shots a day that nobody filmed. The magic is the years of private repetition that looked like nothing and added up to everything. That's what's available to you too, not the basketball. Whatever your 500 shots a day is, go do that, in private, for 6 months, and see what happens. Work before belief. That's the order, not belief before work. You don't get to believe in yourself first, and then act. You act first. You do the thing when you don't believe it's going to work. You show up when you don't feel ready. You put in the reps when the results are invisible. And slowly, slowly something builds. Not just skill, evidence. Proof that you are who you say you are. And that proof stacks. Every day you show up when you didn't want to, that's a brick. Every night you stayed in and worked when you could have gone out, that's a brick. Every hard morning, every session nobody saw, every choice you made for the future version of yourself instead of the comfortable version of yourself right now. All of it stacks. And one day you look at that stack and you realize the doubt doesn't have room to stand anymore. Change happens when the pain of staying the same gets bigger than the pain of changing. Right now, for a lot of people, staying the same hurts less. Staying the same is comfortable, familiar. It doesn't ask anything from you. But there comes a day for everybody, where staying the same becomes unbearable, where the gap between who you are and who you know you're supposed to be becomes so large you can't breathe inside it anymore. I want you to decide that day is today. Not because life forced it on you, because you chose it, because you looked at the gap and said, I'm done. Done living in this gap, done tolerating this distance between what I know I'm capable of and what I'm actually doing. Done. That's the decision. Make it. At the end of every day, you look yourself in the mirror and you ask yourself one question. Did I get better today? Yes or no? That's it. Not did I win. Not did anyone notice. Not has it paid off yet. Did I get better? And if the answer is yes, and you do that for 5 years, 10 years, starting right now with these 6 months, how much better are you going to be? Do the math. The compounding is real. It's not a metaphor. Every day you get better, the floor rises. The new baseline is higher than the old ceiling was. And one day you look up, and you can't even remember what it felt like to be the old version of yourself. That day is coming for you, but only if you start and don't stop. Start and don't stop. That's the whole plan. I want to talk about what actually happens inside you when you do this. Because it is not just skills that grow. Something deeper shifts. Something in the way you see yourself, in the way you carry yourself, in the way you make decisions when things get hard. When you spend 6 months doing hard things alone in the dark. When you spend 6 months choosing the work over the comfort again and again and again. You start to become a different person at a structural level, not just on the surface, deep. The kind of change that doesn't wear off when the motivation dips. The kind that stays because it's built on what you did when you didn't feel like it. That's what makes it permanent. Think about who you were 5 years ago. How different. How much you've already changed without even trying. Now imagine 6 months of actually directing the change. Intentional choices every single day about who you're becoming. That's not a dream. That's math. Input over time equals output. You control the input. The time passes anyway. The only question is what you put in. It's okay to be unbalanced for a while. Actually, it's necessary. You have to be unbalanced to pull this off. You have to be the person that doesn't come out, that doesn't reply to every message, that prioritizes the thing over being liked and included. Once you've built the thing, then you can find balance. But balance before you've built anything is just a nice word for standing still. And once the thing becomes clear, once you finally know what you're moving toward, you stop overthinking. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You just move. Because knowing what you're moving toward changes everything. It makes the hard mornings manageable. It makes the loneliness bearable. The doubt gets small, because the doubt is noise. And now you know which direction is signal. And when you come back, when the 6 months is done, when you step back out with what you built, you're not going to need to say anything. You don't need to explain where you were. You don't need to tell people what you were doing. The results speak. And they speak in a language nobody can argue with. The version of you that comes back from 6 months of real private work is so far beyond the conversation the people around you are having about you that the conversation just stops being relevant. As you expand, they shrink. As you grow, the noise around you gets quieter. Not because you silenced anyone, because you outgrew the frequency they were broadcasting on. You don't beat them. You cast a shadow so big they disappear into it. That's not revenge. That's just what becoming something looks like from the outside. And the same people who went quiet on you when you disappeared, the same ones who stopped texting, the same ones who told other people you changed, they are going to come back. They are going to reappear when the results show up. They're going to act like nothing happened. And you'll have a choice in that moment about who gets access to the new version of you about what you let back in. Make that choice carefully, not with bitterness, with clarity, because your energy is a resource now, and resources go to the people who were there in the dark, not the ones who showed back up when the lights came on. Success is the only revenge, not the best one, the only one. There's no other version that actually settles it, and when you know that, really know it, you stop spending any energy on the people who doubted you, and you put every last bit of it into the work, because they don't matter. The work matters. The 180 days matter. Nothing else. These are the years when you change into the person you're going to be for the rest of your life. Just be careful who you change into, because you're changing either way. Time does that whether you direct it or not. The question is never whether you'll be different 6 months from now. You will be. The question is only whether the version of you that shows up is the one you chose or the one that just happened because you weren't paying attention. Lazy people don't know how to start. Weak people don't know how to finish. Successful people don't know how to stop. Which one are you being right now? Not which one do you want to be. Which one are you actually being today? Because the behavior always tells the truth even when the self-image is lying. And if you drop the story and just look at the raw actions, the answer is probably uncomfortable. Good. Uncomfortable is where this starts. Comfortable is where potential goes to die slowly, while you keep telling yourself you'll start soon. You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror. You become confident by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self-doubt, not just today, for 6 months. Build a stack so high the doubt runs out of floor space. Every morning you get up when you didn't want to, stack. Every night you stayed in and worked, stack. Every time you chose the hard thing over the easy one, stack. That's the real confidence. Not performed, earned. And earned confidence is different from everything else. It doesn't shake when somebody questions it. It doesn't need reassurance. It just is. Because it's built from something real. So this is it. This is the moment. Not a big dramatic thing. Just a quiet decision you make alone right now. That the next 6 months belong to the work, and only the work. That you're going quiet. That you're going dark. That you're going to stop performing and start becoming. Every morning for 180 days, you show up in the room nobody else has access to, and you do the thing. Don't overthink it anymore. Don't plan it any longer. Don't tell a single person. Just start, today, with whatever you have, from wherever you are. One step into the dark, and then another after that. The pain of discipline or the pain of regret. One weighs ounces, the other weighs tons. Choose the ounces. Pay it daily, in small installments every morning when the alarm goes off. Because the tons, the regret, that doesn't come due until later. Until you're lying somewhere at 70 or 80 thinking, man, I feel like I didn't do something. And you did. You didn't do it. Don't let that be the story. Don't be the person who had everything it took and chose comfort over it. Don't be the person who ran by a graveyard one day and realized how many people in there are upset with how they lived. Be the person who went, who tried, who showed up in the dark and did the work and came back with something real. That person exists. You can be that person. The only question is whether today is the day you decide to be. If you want this thing bad enough to fight for it in the dark, when nobody's watching and nobody's clapping, if you'll sweat for it and lose sleep for it and show up for it on the days everything hurts and nothing feels worth it and the doubt is loud and the results are invisible and you still choose to go, if you can do that quietly, privately, without needing anyone to see it or believe in it before you do, then there is nothing on this earth that stops you. Not permanently, not finally. Not the doubt or the circumstances or the people or the distance between where you are and where you're going. How do you beat someone who cannot quit? How do you beat someone who every time life knocks them down, they get back up stronger instead of weaker? How do you beat someone who looked at the hardest chapter of their life and said, okay, What's next? You can't beat that person. You cannot beat someone who refuses to stay down. And 6 months from now, if you make this choice today, if you go quiet and go deep and go all the way in on the work, you will know what it feels like to be that person from the inside. If you want it bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time and your comfort and your sleep for it, if all that you dream and scheme is about it, if life feels thin and pointless without it, if you would sweat for it and lose friends over it and face every single voice that says it cannot be done, with nothing in your hand but the belief that it can, if dogged and tired and broke and uncertain, you still refuse to quit, if you go after that thing with everything you have, every ounce of capacity and strength and stubbornness and faith, then with the help of God you will get it. That is not motivation. That is a promise. That is the way this works for the people who refuse to let it not work. I'm winning anyway. I'm winning no matter what. I can't lose, because I decided I can't lose. And you know what that feels like when you decide it for real. Not when you say it out loud to sound confident. When you decide it quietly, in a room alone, where nobody can hear you, and you mean it completely. When you decide that no matter what comes at you, no matter what gets taken from you, no matter how far back you get pushed, the outcome is only a matter of time. That kind of decision is unbreakable. That kind of decision is what 6 months of silent, relentless work builds in you. And once you have it, once you've built it from the inside, the outside world loses its ability to decide your story. You decide your story, from the inside out. Starting now, lock in, go quiet, do the work nobody sees, come back as the proof. That is the whole plan. That has always been the whole plan. Now go. Imagine you're in a movie, and the movie begins right now, and you're the hero, not someone else, you. What would that person do right now? Not next week, right now, today. Would they scroll or would they work? Would they make excuses or would they move? Would they wait for conditions to be right or would they go anyway? Whatever that person would do, that's what you need to do. Because you are the hero of this story. You've always been the hero of this story. You just forgot it somewhere along the way. The 6 months is how you remember. Build your life in private. Build your confidence in private. Build your skill in private. Build your discipline in private. Build everything that matters in private. And when the private becomes public, when the thing you built in the dark steps into the light, they'll call it overnight success, and you'll know exactly what it cost. Every morning, every session, every hard choice, every day, you chose the work. When the work was the last thing you felt like choosing, you'll know. And that knowing is permanent. Nobody can take it, and nothing can erase it. It's yours. It belongs to you. You built it, in the dark, alone, over 6 months of showing up. Now go do it. Stop reading, stop watching, stop consuming. Go create, go build, go become. The 6 months starts today, right now. With whatever step is in front of you, take it. There are people in graveyards right now who had exactly what you have. The ability, the hunger, the potential, the idea that kept coming back, no matter how many times they pushed it away. And somewhere along the way, they chose comfortable over committed. They chose the version of life that fit what other people expected over the version they actually wanted. And at the end, they looked back at the gap between who they were and who they could have been, and that gap was the heaviest thing they ever carried. Don't be that. Don't die with the thing still inside you. Don't go to your grave with the version of yourself that you kept waiting to become still waiting. Use it. Use these years. Use this time. Use the hunger you feel right now reading this while it's still alive in you. The world doesn't give you your best life. You build it, brick by brick, day by day, in private, before anyone else can see it, before it makes sense to anyone watching, before the results justify the sacrifice. You build it in the gap between who you are and who you're trying to become. And the only tool you have is showing up every single day, Showing up in the dark, doing the thing, going again.